I have something a little bit different today. My name's Carly from Ali and Flora Handmade, and today isn't a podcast. It's something a little bit different, something completely unexpected. I did not have this planned at all, but I'm having a proud daughter moment, so here we are. So some of you may have seen in a previous podcast that my mum is the one who taught me how to knit, and she used to knit me sweaters, cardigans, hats, scarves, you name it, she knit it for me as a child. Lacework, cables. For example, one of my favourite sweaters as a child was a full cable knit sweater with moss stitch in a bright red. So she's a good knitter. She's the one that I would go to when I was knitting, when I needed help, when I couldn't figure out why there was a hole in my knitting or why I didn't have the right amount of stitches. She would be the one that I went to for help. Oh, how the tables have turned in a massive way. So when Mum learnt to knit, it was all different pieces sewn together. You'd only work flat back and forth. There was one type of increase that you would do. There was no different types of increases. There were no different types of cast-ons or bind-offs, or even things had different names. For example, I say bind-off, Mum says cast-off. She just says increase. It's not a make one left or a make one right. It's just an increase. And she said that patterns didn't even have names. It would have been like an Aran weight cable sweater from Peyton's, for example. So I started seriously knitting this year. I learned to do my first sweater, and now I'm loving knitting garments. We've moved on from a basic scarf. Mum decided she too wanted to learn to knit a vest. She found a pattern she really liked, which happened to be the Ivy top from Petite Knit. Nice, simple, doesn't have sleeves, no fancy pattern, just nice and simple. And she asked me if I would knit one too. So I was like, oh, I don't really want to, but sure, okay. Spoiler alert, in the end, I didn't end up making one, but I assisted Mum in making hers. So we put aside all of her prior knowledge of how things are constructed. She read through the pattern and she was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. How do I do this? What's this? I've never knitted in the round before. So it was a huge learning curve for her. And she did amazing. There were, I'm not going to lie, a few little hissy fits. She may have almost thrown the knitting on the floor at one point. Lots of, I can't do this. This is too hard. Why can't I do it? It's not working. I understand what you're saying, but my hands just won't do it. But it didn't take her long. We got through it. We went nice and slow. Tried my patience, to be honest, I think as much as hers. Whether daughters should teach their mothers things, I don't know. Whether mothers should teach their daughters things, probably. But, it was a learning curve. So the first thing Mum learnt to do was a long tail cast on. That in itself was interesting. She decided, no, I don't like that. I'm just going to do my normal. I know how to do it cast on. Fine, no problem. Then it was like, right, you're just doing stocking net, off you go. And then a few rows in, I think she was 5 or 6 rows in, I looked over and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, stocking stitch. And I'm like, that's not stocking stitch. She's like, what do you mean? I said, you're purling. Why are you purling? And she's like, well, isn't that what I do? And I'm like, No, you don't. Oh, no, that's wrong. Actually, no, that's wrong. Sorry, she was knitting back and forth, not, so yeah, ignore that. She was just knitting. She said, because she had said to me, stocking net's just knitting, isn't it? I said, yep, no problem. I said, okay, you show me what you think you should be doing. Because I'd said to her, it's knit, purl, back and forth. She goes, no, it's just knit, isn't it? I was like, no. So she had just been doing garter stitch, knitting back and forth, because she didn't realise that what I meant was knit back and forth, knit a row, purl a row. So that was the first thing. So we navigated the different types of knitting flat versus knitting in the round, because I think she was a little bit confused of what we were doing. So we got the hang of knit a row, purl a row, knit a row, purl a row. Nice and easy. Then came the German short rows. That was a whole other kettle of fish. But she did really well. The turning was interesting. But she took the short rows really well. She actually did really well with the short rows. She got the hang of that fairly quickly. Then came the make one left to make one right. Well, that was interesting. This was where we really got to the I can't do this. It's not working. I don't understand. She almost threw it on the floor. Yeah. But she got there. Lots of instruction, lots of patience for me, or maybe lots of patience for me. But she got there after quite a few different tutorials for me and me trying to explain it, and I got a lot of, I understand what you're saying, but my hands can't do it. And then I was like, okay. And then at this point, I actually had to go back to my place. So I sent her a few tutorials to watch of how to do make one left and make one right. And then she got it. It clicked in her head and all good. Then we came to doing a backwards loop cast on, which then brought us back to the conundrum of a long tail cast on, because it's similar, I'd say. Boy, I think we sat there for 10 minutes trying to get her to put the yarn in the right position to do backwards cast on. In the end, she got it, but it was her very own special way of doing it. It wasn't how I do it, and something that I learned is she's very scared of doing things wrong. And I basically said there is no right and wrong, really. It's knitting at the end of the day. If it doesn't look right, or if it doesn't feel right, or if you have done something that isn't what the pattern says, you just rip back and do it again. There's really no right and wrong. As long as you're getting those stitches on the needles and they're looking how they should, it really doesn't matter. So she now has her own special way to do a backwards loop cast on. Then came knitting in the round, which then brought us back to knits and purl rounds. And bless her soul, she didn't know any better. What you don't know, you don't know. She thought she was still having to do knit around, purl around. And again, after a couple of rows, I looked over and I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, stocking it. I'm like, no, you're just doing knits. You don't need to purl. She's like, what do you mean? But stocking knit is knit a row, purl a row. I'm like, yes, when we're knitting flat, you knit a row, purl a row. But when knitting in a round, it's one big tube. You only have to knit. There is no purl. And she was like, oh, Okay. So we ripped back a little bit, which was fine, no problem. And she was all good, no problem. She did really well. So she learnt make one left, make one right, a different cast on method, a backwards loop cast on, a knitting in the round, German short rows, all in her ivy top. And I don't think she could have chosen a better pattern, to be honest, as a first modern pattern. I'll say it in that way. Knowing that she has knitted before, but this type of knitting was completely new to her. She learnt so much. So much. She even learnt how to measure properly. Like how to measure that she's knit 4 inches, for example. But she did amazing. So I'm going to pop up some pictures and put in some video of her wearing it. She's so proud of herself, like so proud. She used the Cottony one, I believe it's called, from Spotlight, which is the, what's his name? The swimmer who's hosting Game of Wool. I'll pop it here because it's Tom Daly. That's it. By him in a creamy colour, and I cannot remember what needle size she used, so I will pop that down below. But it's kind of like a 10 ply Aran weight. Super simple. There's no fancy pattern like cables or lacework. It's literally just stockinette from top to bottom, arm shaping, and that's about it, really. But yeah, she's super proud, and I'm so proud of her. And as soon as she finished it, she's like, I want to make something else. I'm like, okay, what do you want to make? She's like, something that's not a vest. I'm like, okay. So she has decided, and we have cast on, the Farnham Tea by Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl. We cast that on at Christmas, and we're about to cast on the ranunculus. She's really super keen to do the ranunculus. She's done really well so far with the Farnham. The only problem we had was with the shoulders, so I've helped her by doing the shoulders for her, because she was a little bit confused about that. So I've shown her how to do it, and because she knows how to do the short rows, she would be fine, but she just needs a little bit more support for that. She now knows how to do make one lefts, make one rights. She can do the cast on, the backwards loop cast on. She's confident now with magic loop because she made a pair, or is making a pair, about to finish a pair of the double slippers. So she's now knows how to do magic loop and is very confident with that. So if she does need to do magic loop, she's all good. But yeah, I'm just super proud of her. Like, the amount she's learnt is incredible. And I can't recommend the Ivy Tea enough for a beginner knitter. The only thing that we would change or do differently is make it a little bit longer. If she's wearing a t-shirt tucked in or high-waisted pants, all good, looks great, it's nice and cropped. But if she were to wear like mid-rise or low-rise, or just harem pants, and she's not very much of a t-shirt tucked in person, it does look a bit too cropped, but she's still happy with it. The only thing is maybe a few inches longer, because it's probably cuts her off about 2 inches above her waist. Not her waist, sorry, her hips. So if it would just that little bit longer to get to her hips, I think it would be perfect. but it looks great. So here is her wearing it.